Welcome to today's lecture, where we dive into one of the most dynamic systems in the human body, skeletal muscles. Whether you're sprinting across the field, typing on a keyboard, or simply blinking, skeletal muscles are behind every voluntary movement you make. But how do they work? What makes them contract with such precision? And why do some muscles tire quickly while others seem to be built for endurance? In this session, we'll explore skeletal muscle description, what they are, how they are structured, and why they are essential for movement and posture, the contraction mechanism of skeletal muscles, the fascinating molecular ballet that allows muscles to shorten and generate force. Another topic will be types of muscle fibers. From explosive sprinters to marathoners, we'll look at how different fibers shape performance and fatigue. And lastly, we'll look a little bit also into somatic reflexes, just a tiny bit. Reflexes which are the lightning fast circuits that protect us and keep our movements efficient, often without realizing it. By the end of this lecture, you'll not only understand how skeletal muscles function, you'll appreciate the incredible coordination and complexity that powers every step, lift, and leap. Let's get started. Today in this lecture we will talk about skeletal muscles, but before we do that, let's determine what are skeletal muscles and how they differ from other muscle types in our body. So altogether we have 3 types of muscles in our body. Each of these types has a different structure, function, and metabolism. And today in this lecture I will talk more about skeletal muscles, which as you can see also take up the largest part of all muscles. About 40% of body weight is skeletal muscle. So what is exactly skeletal muscle? The most simple explanation would be that these are probably the classic muscles that you imagine when you hear the term muscle. So these are all muscles that are connected to the skeleton, and that's why they are called skeletal muscles. So practically all of them will be attached to the bones. As you can see, they have another name, striated muscles, though the term skeletal is probably used more often. Just to inform you, striated is a synonym and refers to the same type of muscles. And this name, striated, derives from the fact that when you look under a microscope at the skeletal muscle, you can see light and dark striations, and this is due to organization of 2 different proteins in the skeletal muscle, and one of these proteins is a little bit darker and the other is a little bit lighter. However, it doesn't matter, as I said, which name you use for these muscles, though further in this lecture I will call them skeletal muscles because, as I said, this is probably the most commonly used term for them. So below our 3 muscle types you can see also microscopic images of these muscles, which of course are colored because from the inside we are not so pretty pink, so the muscles aren't, but the coloring allows to notice some elements better, like the striation in the skeletal muscle or nuclei in all of these types of muscles. Now, skeletal muscles will also be the muscles that will be subject to our will, and this will distinguish them from the other 2 types of muscles that we cannot subject to will. Skeletal muscles are all those muscles where one imagines moving something, a finger or hand or leg, and the person is capable of doing it, meaning purely with the help of will. The other type of muscle, considerably smaller part of our body, only about 1% of the body mass, is smooth muscle. And these are muscles that form our internal organs, including blood vessels. So smooth muscles one will find, for example, in the intestines, uterus, lungs, and other internal organs. And as mentioned, they will be also part of the blood vessels and also part of the lymphatic vessels. Additionally, I want to point out that these muscles are not subjected to will. Imagine we cannot perform intestinal contractions or we cannot dilate our blood vessels just by imagining it or ordering the body to do so. And this difference will be probably one of the most important differences between these 2 types of muscles. So skeletal you can move with your will, and smooth muscles muscles you cannot move with your will. And lastly, we have cardiac muscle, which is located, of course, in the heart, as the name states, and its location is only in the heart, so the heart is made from this muscle type and you cannot find it anywhere else in the body. And that's why, of course, the total percentage of body weight is relatively small. And of course, if we talk about muscle control, cardiac muscle, it is not possible to control the cardiac muscle with will. So these are three muscle types we have in our human organism. And now let's talk deeper about skeletal muscles, and I'll start with an overall description and then go deeper in explaining how these muscles look like, what they are made of, and their functions, and in the end how these muscles work. So probably the first thing one has to understand is that skeletal muscles are not made of separate cells, but these are rather muscle fibers with parallel arrangement. So what you see here is one muscle fiber, and it will be completely the opposite in smooth muscle. Smooth muscle has separate cells. Another thing, compared to smooth muscle, skeletal muscle has a relatively high contraction speed. For example, imagine you can bend your finger much faster than your intestines can contract. And as I mentioned before, these are muscles that are subjected to will. And if it's a muscle that can be moved with our sheer will, that means innervation is done by the somatic nervous system. That means from the entire peripheral nervous system, the somatic nervous system is the one that innervates skeletal muscles. And if we talk about the nervous system, we have to mention also that the neurotransmitter that is released in the synapses between the last nerve cell and the skeletal muscle is acetylcholine, and acetylcholine only. And we will talk about all of this deeper in the next few slides. Here you have a little bit of additional general information. As mentioned beforehand, 40% of the body mass is skeletal muscles, but it can be a little bit more for men usually and a little bit less for women usually, although this can of course vary in different persons. Now the largest muscle in our body is musculus gluteus maximus, which you see here in this picture, and the smallest one is in the ear and is attached to one of the hearing bones in the ear. And of course, I mentioned several times already that the skeletal muscles are muscles that are subjected to will and they are innervated by the somatic nervous system, but it should be also taken into account that these muscles can contract also involuntarily through reflexes. One such example is the classic reflex where one hits the knee tendon and the leg rises. And probably most of you have also experienced that. Next we have skeletal muscle functions. Although one can think of many functions that the skeletal muscles have, the main function will be of course movement and support. This is the basic function of skeletal muscles, but I have mentioned also here some of these additional functions where skeletal muscles are also pretty important. For example, there's thermogenesis. The word thermo means temperature and genesis is creation, so heat creation or heat generation. And we can observe this very well when a muscle exercises and releases heat. That means a working muscle will definitely produce also heat. Then speaking or vocalization also could not be done without skeletal muscles. Additionally, breathing involves not only the lung as an organ where large part of it is made up of smooth muscle, but also various muscles related to breathing such as diaphragm or intercostal muscles. Skeletal muscles are also quite important to stimulate the return of blood flow from the veins to the heart. This is especially important in the legs because when it comes to the legs, the blood vessels are of course very far from the heart, and there you need to help a little bit so that the blood from these places can also return back to the heart.